Hello, bookish friends, and welcome back to my channel, Jen's Literary Escapes. As the leaves fall and the air turns crisp, I can't think of a better way to spend the month than with a cozy blanket and a good book. It's that time of the month again when we dive into the wonderful world of books and explore the exciting titles I have lined up for my November TBR. I will also discuss one of my reading goals, which is to continue some of my most beloved book series. Before we dive into the specifics, I want to remind you of the joy that setting reading goals and curating a TBR brings. It's not just a list of books, it's a roadmap for a fantastic reading journey. First and foremost, my reading goal for November is to renew my connection with some of the series I started. The first books in this series were absolutely amazing, and I loved them. There's something magical about revisiting familiar worlds and characters. This month, I'm dedicating my reading time to the Mistborn trilogy by Sanderson, the Malazan book of the Fallen series by Erikson, the Ryder-Revelation series by Michael J. Sullivan, the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and the Black Iron Legacy trilogy by Gareth Ryder-Hanrahan. These series have captured my heart. I can't express how thrilled I am to delve back into these stories. I've laughed and cried with these characters, and I'm eager to see how their journeys continue. It's like reuniting with old friends, and I can't wait to share the emotions with you. Now, let's take a look at the books I've handpicked for my November TBR. I will go over the series that I will be continuing first, and then I'll dive into my other reads. First on my list is Nyphron Rising, which is the third book in the Ryder-Revelation series by Michael J. Sullivan. You can only find this series in bind-ups. The first two books are in Theft of Swords, books 3 and 4 are in Rise of Empire, and books 5 and 6 are in Heir of Nyphron. So for Nyphron Rising, I'll be reading it in Rise of Empire. Since this is the third book in the series, I won't go into detail of what this book is about, but the first book is called The Crown Conspiracy, and it follows a thief, Royce Melbourne, and a mercenary, Hadrian Blackwater. This duo make their living taking jobs from the nobility, and one day, they are hired to steal something at the king's palace, which end up going horribly wrong. Royce and Hadrian end up taking the fall for the king's murder and are given a verdict of guilty and will carry out their sentence in death. This story is about the two friends and their journey avoiding their death sentence. And, by the way, this isn't spoilers because it is in the summary of the book. I gave the first two books in this series 5 stars. I loved Royce and Hadrian so much, and they are just friend goals. I'm anticipating Nyphron Rising to be a 5-star read for me. I cannot wait to continue in this series. If this series sounds intriguing or enticing to you, please pick this series up. Next on my list is The Well of Ascension by Sanderson. This is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy, and I am sure most of you know what this series is and may have already read it. I am one of the few people who haven't delved into much of Sanderson's works. Since The Well of Ascension is the second book in the series, I will only tell you about the first book. The first book is The Final Empire, and it is about a man named Kelsier who uses allomancy to try to pull off the greatest heist in history. Allomancy is a magic system that allows allomancers to use certain powers by ingesting metals. Kelsier gets a band of allomancers together to pull off this greatest heist known to man. One of these members is called Vin. Vin is an orphan who discovers that she too has allomantic abilities, and she must learn to master and control her new powers. I also gave The Final Empire 5 stars. I am anticipating that the second book, The Well of Ascension, will also be a 5-star read. I can't wait to continue in the Mistborn world. The next book that I will get to this month is Deadhouse Gates by Erikson. This is the second book in the Malazan book of the Fallen series. This series is notorious for being a challenging series to read because Erikson just throws you into the world and you learn things along with the characters in the book. The advice I received from veteran Malazan readers was to be comfortable, not knowing and understanding everything that is going on. If you, as the reader, are confused with what is going on, most likely the characters are also confused about what is going on. The way Erikson writes feels like you get transported into the Malazan world, and you are there firsthand being part of the band of characters. I enjoyed the first book very much. The first book in this series is Gardens of the Moon. Gardens of the Moon is an epic fantasy that follows two different groups of characters. A group of a Malazan Empire unit called the Bridge Burners, and a group from the last free city, Darujistan. This series has vast legions of gods, mages, humans, dragons, and other creatures that play out the fate of the Malazan Empire as they conquer other lands. Yep. If you haven't started the Malazan Book of the Fallen series yet, and this sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend you at least try Gardens of the Moon. If you don't like it, it's okay. You don't need to keep going. I know 10 books is a huge commitment, but I implore that you at least try the first book. I gave Gardens of the Moon 4.5 stars, and I can't wait to keep going. The next book I have here is the second book in the First Law trilogy, Before They Are Hanged, by Joe Abercrombie. I listened to the first book, The Blade itself, as an audiobook, and I enjoyed the story, but it felt like a really long prologue of all the main characters getting the band together and that the actual story will start in the second book. However, I do think that The Blade itself has great and fleshed out characters. My favorite being Godkiller the Inquisitor. I too hate stairs, and they are my mortal enemy. I just cannot believe The Blade itself was his first book he has ever written. Joe Abercrombie's ability to make his characters feel so real and relatable is astounding. I rated this book 3.5 stars, but I am still very excited to continue the series. I am a fan of the grimdark subgenre, and I am anticipating that the First Law series will be one of my favorite series. I highly recommend the audiobook for this series. Stephen Pacey is just a high-tier audiobook narrator. I don't think there is anyone else out there that can narrate as well as he can. I also love Pacey's voice for Godkiller. It is just genius. The final series that I want to continue this month is one of the read-alongs I'm doing with a couple of people in Jessie May's Patreon. I love Jessie May, and I also linked her most recent video in the description box below. She is just so sweet and very passionate about books. Anyway, this book I am reading for the read-along is The Shadow Saint, which is the second book in the Black Iron Legacy trilogy by Gareth Ryder-Hanrahan. The first book is The Gutter Prayer, where we meet three thieves, an orphan, a ghoul, and a cursed stone man. While they were on a job, they were betrayed by their thieves' guild, thus a revenge story is born. I love the betrayal and revenge tropes. It is just so entertaining. Also, the monsters in this story haunt my nightmares. They are so creepy and scary. The way they attack people is horrifying. If you know, you know. I gave The Gutter Prayer 5 stars, and my read-along partners are loving The Shadow Saint, and I am anticipating I am also going to love it. That is it for my continuing series goal this month. Next on my list for this month is Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. This book is a book club pick with Jessie May's Patreon. Again, her channel is linked down below. So Godkiller is a new 2023 series release, and the only thing I know about this book is that one of the main characters makes a living killing gods, and that there may be demons in this book. God's fates intertwined with humans, and demons are huge buzzwords for me. According to Goodreads, the second book, Sunbringer, is expected to be published sometime next year, so I really hope that I will love this one. The next series I am starting this month is Hench, by Natalie Zina Walschots. I know that this book was a nominee in the Goodreads Choice Awards in 2020 for Best Science Fiction. I also know that this book is about a woman named Anna, who gets badly injured by a superhero. Because of this terrible incident that caused her injuries, Anna starts collecting data that the superheroes are causing a lot more damage than they are helping people. A villain sees her data and ends up employing her. This seems like a fun take on who is actually the villain. Is it the superhero? I am very excited to read this story. One of the first standalones I want to read this month is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I have read Neverwhere from him, and I really enjoyed it. I read the illustrated version of Neverwhere, and the artist's renditions of Mr. Croup and Mr. Vandemar made them even more creepy and scary. Because I like Neverwhere so much, I want to try his other works. I also tried Good Omens, but I DNF'd it pretty early on. I did not like the writing style and the attempt at humor with Good Omens. So, I then decided to try The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I actually have the illustrated edition, and the illustrations look absolutely gorgeous. The only thing I know about this book is that it is about a man who comes back to his childhood home for a funeral, and that he starts to remember things that happened to him when he was a kid, which may be sinister. I can't wait to dive into this world. The next standalone on my list is Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. This was published in May of this year, and it is about prison women fighting gladiator style to try to win their freedom. Gladiators and fighting for freedom, say less. I hope I love this one. I think this will be a 5-star read. The last book on my November TBR is The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. This was also published early this year, and it is about a woman trying to navigate a reputation that she killed her no-good husband 5 years ago. However, she did not kill him. He just disappeared. This is not spoilers, it's in the summary of the book. Because the village thinks that she did kill her husband, other women are coming to her to also get rid of their husbands. This synopsis reminds me of Finlay Donovan is Killing It, and I loved that book. I think I am going to love this one too. In addition to my November TBR, I'll also be participating in a month-long readathon called Get a Clue Readathon, which is hosted by Rainy from Rainy Blue Reads. I'm incredibly excited to participate in this readathon. Rainy designed this readathon based on her inspiration from the board game Clue. I absolutely love this game. My sister and I play it all the time. If you would like to know more about how the Get a Clue readathon works and how to sign up, I have linked the announcement video in the description box down below. It's going to be a jam-packed November of reading, and I can't wait to share my thoughts and reviews with you. Now, it's your turn. What is on your November TBR? Do you have any recommendations or thoughts on my selection? Please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and get your insights on what to read next. Thank you for joining me on this TBR adventure. If you enjoyed this video and want to see how I progress through my November TBR, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming bookish content. I'll see you in the next video. May your books bring you joy.